Hi! There is a special atmosphere in some games that compels you to play through them, even if the game itself isn't very interesting. And the post-apocalypse is an immortal theme for games suitable for introducing practically any ideas into gameplay. The post-apocalyptic theme provides limitless potential. Thus, alongside fantasy, this genre stands out as one of the most popular in computer games. Every year, worthy representatives of this genre are released. In this video, I will talk about the most atmospheric ones. Let me start with NieR Automata, a philosophical and tragic slasher. In the world of NieR, humans have been driven to the moon. Earth, on the other hand, has fallen to ruthless machines created with the help of an alien virus. Thus, the alien race planned to completely conquer Earth. To reclaim their homeland, humanity created a special squad consisting of combat androids, which we will play as. Gameplay-wise, the game is an action/RPG with spectacular battles and combos. Players can expect enormous bosses and numerous different endings. Days Gone, a sprawling narrative game about the survival of a charismatic biker in a zombie apocalypse. The protagonist travels through post-apocalyptic America on his motorcycle, aiding various groups of survivors and battling hordes of infected. The main draw of Days Gone lies in its atmosphere. Roaming deserted roads on a trusty iron steed proves incredibly engaging. The developers have endeavored to make the world as lifelike as possible. Weather constantly changes, NPCs behave differently depending on the time of day, and random events occur across the map which can either aid or hinder the hero. Death Stranding. Hideo Kojima released either a walking simulator masquerading as a blockbuster game, a philosophical statement on modern society, or an experiment that elevated social interactions in video games to a new level. One thing can be said for certain: you believe in this kind of post-apocalypse. A world where everyone has shut themselves away in bunkers and communication is reduced to online messaging too closely resembles the pandemic we experienced just a few years ago. At times, Death Stranding is downright infuriating and you might feel like quitting. But when you descend towards the setting sun from another hill to excellent music, or witness a massive whale in the sky, you forgive the game for everything. State of Decay 2, a large, colorful, and highly diverse action game where players lead a group of survivors during a zombie apocalypse. Stocking up on supplies, driving vehicles, acquiring weapons, and battling various types of infected are all part of the gameplay. The game essentially lacks a linear plot, but this doesn't detract from spending dozens of hours in it. The local world constantly throws new challenging survival situations at you, and the possibility of cooperative gameplay with a friend adds to the fun. And if something goes wrong, you can always start over and build another thriving settlement. Elex Series, a role-playing game from the creators of the cult classic Gothic, allowing players to determine the fate of an entire planet that survived a meteorite impact, resulting in massive destruction. As in the studio's previous projects, high difficulty, clunky controls, and an open world ripe for exploration await. During the main storyline, the protagonist must travel the planet, meet various characters, and ultimately join one of the available factions. Each faction offers its own narrative development as well as a set of available weapons, armor, and magic. The Fallout game series can confidently be considered the leading post-apocalyptic franchise in the industry. Endless radioactive wastelands of the USA, insane raiders, super powerful mutants, retro-futuristic robots, here you'll find everything a genre fan could dream of. Create your own unique character and live the life you want. The open world and extensive gameplay options, excellent graphics, and unprecedented level of freedom simply leave no chance for its competitors. Each game in the franchise is very different from the others. The early installments differ significantly in gameplay from the later ones. Fallout 1 to 2 are isometric RPGs with tactical combat, while Fallout 3 and 4 are action games that also retain tactical elements but offer players a fresh perspective on the series. Frostpunk, an unconventional take on the genre, presenting players not with a radioactive wasteland, but with vast snowy fields. In the world of Frostpunk, it's very cold, so cold that people can only survive near giant heat generators, and venturing beyond their radius means certain death from frostbite. In addition to the traditional attributes of strategy and city-building simulators, the game presents tasks that require players to make difficult moral choices, such as cutting expenses on the sick for the survival of the healthy. Wasteland 3. A fairly classic role-playing game that allows players to take control of a squad of 4 unique heroes and embark on an adventure in the expanses of Colorado during a nuclear winter. Be prepared to face the cold, aggressive psychos, robots, and horrifying mutants. Throughout the game, players will encounter a whole ensemble of colorful and downright insane characters, ride in a giant vehicle, and resolve several difficult moral dilemmas that directly impact the game's plot. It will be especially interesting for those who love turn-based battles and the spirit of the old-school Fallout games. Dying Light 2. Another game about survival in a zombie apocalypse. Here, players must navigate through a huge city, battle hordes of the undead, and complete non-linear quests that can lead to several variations of the story's development. The main features of Dying Light 2 are its well-developed and engaging parkour system. Firearms have been added to the game, but players must progress halfway through the game and then complete a long chain of quests to obtain them. Although, of course, it's worth it, shooting is fun here, although the sound of gunfire will attract even more infected. Therefore, the main part of the gameplay consists of battles with various types of melee weapons, ensuring frenetic dynamics. Additionally, the entire story campaign can be completed in the company of a faithful friend, sharing the burden of survival. Metro. This is a series of post-apocalyptic shooters that captivate players with their atmosphere. During the journey, players can witness the consequences of war firsthand and how they are experienced in different territories. Some places see people turning to religious fanaticism, while others become downright cruel cannibals. Meanwhile, all characters live their own lives, communicate with each other, and share their experiences. Thanks to this, their characters are revealed and everything that happens becomes more believable. The developers not only managed to craft the atmosphere of hopelessness skillfully, but also gave us memorable characters. The latest installment, Exodus, takes gamers out of the dark tunnels of the Metro to the surface, allows them to embark on a train journey, and throws unexpected plot twists their way. The Horizon series showcases a unique universe. At first glance, it seems like a standard story. A mysterious cataclysm has thrown humanity back into the Bronze Age. However, in this world, robotic animals coexist with humans, ranging from small herbivorous deer to gigantic tyrannosaurs. For the first couple of dozen hours, this absurd universe completely captivates your thoughts, compelling you to explore every corner of the world in search of any information about the catastrophe. These games may lack an interesting plot, have awful dialogue, forgettable characters, lazy crafting, and leveling mechanics, but the setting and combat are superb. It's a case where, despite numerous flaws, the game provides an amazing gaming experience. Rage series. Despite the fact that the first Rage was released quite a while ago, it remains a very popular game among post-apocalyptic enthusiasts. It's a very decent first-person shooter, engaging players with dynamic battles and a good selection of weapons, which can be upgraded with various enhancements and several types of ammunition. The same can be said about the enemies, a large variety of opponents, each with their own intelligence and resilience, presenting a clear danger. The game also features vehicular combat, allowing players to not only travel quickly and comfortably through Rage's locations, but also participate in real racing competitions. The sequel, however, departed from the dark atmosphere of the original. The visuals became more vibrant, and the gameplay incorporated crazy stunts and abilities. However, the core mechanics, shootouts with mutants in a post-apocalyptic setting and battles in combat vehicles, remained intact. The Last of Us series. This is the most highly praised and beloved zombie apocalypse game by the audience to date. It's a cinematic narrative adventure telling the story of an experienced smuggler and a teenage girl who has only known the horrors of the pandemic while traveling through America. The narrative scenes of The Last of Us can easily bring players to tears. The developers placed emphasis on the characters, weaving the narrative, world, and mechanics around them, and they didn't miss the mark. It resulted in one of the deepest post-apocalyptic dramas in the history of video games. Mad Max, a grand narrative adventure based on the Mad Max film franchise. The game doesn't replicate the plot of any specific movie, but contains numerous references to each of them. Nevertheless, playing it will be interesting not only for fans of the films, but also for those unfamiliar with the source material. Because here, the main focus is not on the plot or characters, but on adrenaline-fueled rides on custom cars. The protagonist will traverse the post-apocalyptic desert in his vehicle, engage in tuning, participate in deadly races with raiders, and complete various story missions. All of this is accompanied by atmospheric music and pleasant graphics. Far Cry New Dawn. A spin-off of the fifth installment of the Far Cry series, it surprises with the brightness of the world that survived a nuclear catastrophe. This is how Fallout 4 would be if the rights had passed to Ubisoft. It's still the same nuclear apocalypse, but conceived in a more entertaining manner. Surviving people are rebuilding their settlements and striving to improve life in every possible way. But not everything is smooth sailing, as marauders threaten the safety of anyone not on their side. Our protagonist will try to stop them. Overall, it's an atmospheric and spectacular first-person shooter with beautiful visuals, but with a silly and uninteresting plot, which at most qualifies as DLC for the fifth installment of the series. Enslaved, Odyssey to the West. Human civilization is nearly obliterated after a global conflict, and unfriendly robots have settled on the ruins of once magnificent cities. Traps and turrets are scattered everywhere, danger lurks at every turn. This is how Odyssey to the West welcomes players, a third-person adventure action game in which the protagonist must escort his companion to their destination. In Enslaved, players can expect an interesting combat system based on combos and blocks, as well as unexpected obstacles and puzzles that can only be solved by interacting with their companion. Eastward. A role-playing game in a pleasant retro style, Eastward tells the story of the desolate world of Eastward, where the remnants of humanity have taken refuge in underground shelters due to a horrific catastrophe. However, one pair, a miner and his mysterious companion, refuse to spend the rest of their lives underground, so they escape and embark on amazing adventures. Alternately controlling two heroes, you will visit interesting places, get close to the inhabitants of the outside world, solve numerous puzzles, and battle various enemies. The game exudes kindness and atmosphere, and its pleasant pixel art graphics will linger in your memory for a long time. Mutant Year Zero, an atmospheric role-playing game with captivating turn-based combat. The game is based on a tabletop game and fully replicates its idea. After a strange plague, almost all of humanity perished, and intelligent mutants with amazing superpowers took their place. Players must command a team of such mutants and send them on dangerous forays outside their home in search of valuable resources. Throughout the game, the heroes will find not only useful items but also valuable information. They will also grow stronger, smarter, and acquire new unique mutations. The game delights not only with gameplay and plot, but also with the opportunity to play as an anthropomorphic talking duck with a sniper rifle. Where else would you see that? Biomutant transports us into a beautiful fairy tale where the tree of life has been poisoned and all hope for saving the world rests on the fragile shoulders of a warrior creature whom we will play as. They will meet other inhabitants of the world, establish relationships with factions, change history with their decisions, and battle fearsome monsters. Some consider Biomutant to be childish, but does that make the game bad? It has a wonderful atmosphere, a decent plot, and in terms of character and weapon customization options, it can be considered one of the best. Terminator Resistance. This game tells the familiar tale of the apocalypse caused by sentient machines. It is a first-person shooter whose events unfold before those depicted in the Terminator movies. Playing as an ordinary soldier, you will join John Connor's resistance and fight against Skynet-controlled machines. For the most part, the gameplay is a classic first-person shooter, but there are also role-playing elements such as resource gathering, trading, leveling up, and side missions. Critics didn't rate the project highly, but ordinary players were thrilled, noting that the world had finally received a decent game in the Terminator universe. I Am Alive. In this game, there wasn't a global war, but society degraded on its own. The situation worsened with a massive earthquake. In such conditions, survival becomes paramount. Provisions are scarce, danger lurks everywhere, and the character also tires from every action. Essentially, the entire gameplay of this game boils down to choosing between two elements, shooting or intimidating. This innovative enemy encounter behavior system is the best the developers at Ubisoft could squeeze out. There are also elements of parkour and exploration, random encounters with survivors, and some other ideas, but almost all of them turn out to be too dull. Despite its very monotonous and quickly boring gameplay, the world itself is very atmospheric. Forever Skies. A post-apocalyptic survival game set in a world after an ecological catastrophe, with the protagonist being the captain of a dirigible. Alone, the hero must seek food and repair their means of transportation. However, the problems don't end there, as mutated creatures roam the land, posing a threat. We'll have to go on expeditions for supplies in the Poison City, which is filled with various dangers. The deeper we go, the more dangerous but valuable the finds will be. NieR Series. An adventure that hooked players with its unique visual design and gameplay, where players had to control a sailing ship, traversing post-apocalyptic wastelands, overcoming obstacles, and battling various dangers. In the second part, NieR, changing tides, post-apocalyptic planes give way to maritime expanses. The protagonist finds themselves in a flooded world. The protagonist has an unusual ship at their disposal on which they will embark on an unforgettable journey. The games offer a meditative gameplay experience with a focus on exploring the game universe and solving puzzles. Generation Zero. This game throws us back to 1989 on fictional islands in post-apocalyptic Sweden, which have been overrun by aggressive robots. In this cooperative first-person shooter, we must explore a diverse world, build a base, scavenge for supplies, and, if possible, avoid battles with iron adversaries. Some of the battles with them are quite challenging and reminiscent of games from the Dark Souls series. The game features an indescribable atmosphere that borders between the past and the future. On the one hand, we see huge robots, and on the other hand, cozy single-story houses, old cars, and breathtaking landscapes. Scarlet Nexus presents the apocalypse Japanese style. Mutants descending from the sky have destroyed the world, and the only ones who can stop them are special agents. In this story, they became psychics, possessors of telekinetic abilities. The combat mechanics are based on a combination of melee weapons and telekinesis, making the battles intense as befits an anime-style game. The game will also delight players with an intriguing plot involving conspiracies, unexpected twists, and the ability to see the story from the perspective of two heroes. That's all. Thank you for watching. The Image Game channel was with you. Have a good day.